Because you listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying?
Rappers are renowned for their rivalries, which often lead to diss songs and other embarrassing media. However, historical occurrences show that these rivalries may sometimes end in fatalities. Throughout the years, many well-known artists have died in shootings, and infamous Biggie's death seems to be one. Among those that rose to prominence following P. Diddy's arrest, 6 months after the rapper Biggie, who signed to Diddy's Bad Boy Records, was shot and killed. Numerous statements have been made regarding the incident, but the case remains unresolved. A number of people have come forward to accuse Diddy of Biggie's murder, the most prominent of whom is 50 Cent. In the wake of Diddy's arrest, 50 Cent has spoken out and provided new evidence for why he believes Diddy is the reason for Biggie's demise. But first, we must comprehend Diddy's contentious connection with his fellow rappers. In the years preceding Tupac Shakur's and Biggie's deaths, Diddy was envious of both of them. Diddy Combs was envious of the close relationship that formed between the two musicians. Many of Diddy's old associates and co-workers were interviewed by a Rolling Stone piece, which led to the release of new details surrounding the claimed abusive behavior of the Bad Boy Records founder throughout his career. In one of the stories, former Bad Boy partner and president Kirk Burroughs claimed that Diddy thought he was being treated unfairly when Tupac and Biggie became friends, saying that there was someone on the sidelines who was jealous. Burroughs made reference to Diddy, saying that Biggie was signed to Bad Boy Records, which he owned.
You showed up at the shoot with $3.5 million in cash?
While Tupac was signed to Death Row Records, which was a rival at the time, had affection for Tupac and tried to get close to him. The West Coast rapper showed no interest in forming a friendship with him. According to pop photographer Monique Bunn, in an interview, Pac thought Biggie was at least as good as Diddy and that Diddy was a corny executive. Bunn further stated that everything was exaggerated after Tupac was shot 5 times in a New York City recording studio in 1994. The rapper believed that "she told me about what 50 Cent claims." Even though Christopher Wallace, commonly known as the legendary Biggie, died about 30 years ago, his exact cause of death is still unknown. On March 9, 1997, while heading home from a party, he was shot to death with a 9mm blue steel handgun. Diddy was informed of the gunman. The tragedy is said to have sprung from the notorious rivalry between East Coast and West Coast rappers. His death swiftly sparked a plethora of conspiracy theories and mythology. Several wrongful death cases that eventually produced no results have been filed, and despite the volume of information that has been collected, the cause of his death remains unknown. In the midst of all this intrigue, the murder of his buddy turned adversary. Tupac is coming closer to being solved, but the legendary huge murderer has not been identified. About his death, a number of allegations and conspiracies have been raised. Some of them have resurfaced after Diddy's arrest, who was supporting Biggie on the evening of his 2006 murder, in the middle of the never-ending conflict between 50 Cent and Diddy. These were the lyrics of 50 Cent's diss track, The Bomb, in which he declared that Diddy knew the precise details of Biggie's killer. That is, "We don't get them. They're going to kill us all, man. Puffy, know who hit that?" 50 Cent is still adamant that the music mogul was responsible for the rapper's death, and he also had some charge to level in relation to the rapper's demise. When Diddy was serving time in prison for the charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, an interview with his former bodyguard was unearthed. During the conversation, Gandil made a number of unexpected claims regarding the death of the notorious rapper Biggie.
That the assault was carried out by Diddy and his gang of bad boys. The relationship between Biggie and Tupac became more and more tense. In September 1996, Tupac was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. He was only 25 years old at the time. Less than a year later, Biggie was also shot and killed in Los Angeles. At that time, he was also only 24. Additionally, Biggie revealed to Rolling Stone that Biggie had planned to leave Bad Boy shortly before he passed away. I know this to be true because he told Rolling Stone.
Biggie, despite the fact that Diddy has repeatedly denied these allegations, and he was never formally charged with them. Deal tried to refute many claims made about the late rapper in a number of sources during his February appearance at the Art of Dialogue performance. Deal said that it simply hurts because people lie too much. Many of the things they give are false, and now people are sitting here thinking Diddy's former guard disclosed what they were told. This is because they pieced a bunch of falsehoods together by listening to these white males who weren't even there. The automobile was parked at the corner. Diddy's recent arrest has revealed his past crimes, including multiple allegations of sexual assault against the musician. This is not the first time that Deal has made such unexpected accusations, and he is still harboring resentment over the young rapper's death. Despite the music mogul's arrest, his former bodyguard continued to appear on the same show and make some additional shocking allegations, which resulted in additional controversy and drama. 4 separate women have abused him sexually and physically. One of them is his long-term companion, Cassandra Cassie Ventura, who has sued him. Producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed a similar lawsuit in February, claiming that Diddy assaulted him over a year while he was staying at the stars' homes and working on his songs. Diddy responded to the accusations in a statement issued in December of last year, calling them sickening, and saying they were made by people desperate for quick money. "Let me be clear this year. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged," he said, adding he would fight to clear his name. On the other hand, in March 2024, federal officials conducted a lawful search at 2 homes that belonged to the celebrity as part of an ongoing inquiry into unlawful activity. The actions were described as an unprecedented ambush and a gross misuse of military-level force by his attorney, who also kept his client's innocence intact. Diddy, who is also...
Before we left Andre Harold's house that night, Puff told me I didn't have to go. Now I went because I knew that somebody was going to die that night, and somebody was going to get shot. I did everything in my power to stop it from being Puff. This is not the story of how he came to Wallace's rescue after being attacked. He explained, fighting back tears, that the death of Big continues to haunt him, knowing that he passed away while holding him. And following that, Deal made a startling admission.
Been known by the name Puffy Puff. Although Daddy P, also known as Brother Love and Diddy Love, is recognized for having successfully changed the hip-hop landscape in the 1990s, his whole career has been clouded by controversy. Diddy's quarrel with Tupac is once again drawing the attention of the public as a consequence of his most recent arrest, which has been making news. The founding of Sean Diddy's Bad Boy Records and Suge Knight's Death Row Records sparked the rivalry between the East and West Coasts in the rap music industry. Diddy has been connected to Tupac's death for a long time, but the original authorities have not looked into this. In addition, Eminem claimed that Diddy was involved in the events leading up to Tupac's death, specifically the 1993 encounter between Tupac and Diddy. Diddy established the Bad Boy Records record label on the East Coast. The infamous Biggie and Craig Mack made their debuts via this label. A year later, in 1999-4, Tupac was murdered while in the midst. Singers, especially the guidance he gave to up-and-coming artists like Usher and Justin Bieber. Other recovered interviews with the late rapper Tupac have also surfaced online. In an April 1995 interview with Vibe magazine, Tupac made an ACC accusation that Diddy was the one responsible for the attack. Tupac was asked if he suspected that Diddy, who was then known as Puffy Daddy, had any involvement in the attack. He responded, "It's between me and him, and only he." As we approached the building, someone shouted from up above the studio. Tupac told Vibe magazine in a 1995 interview that it was Little Caesar Biggie's Sid man, "That's my homeboy." As soon as I saw him, all my worries about the situation were eased. Tupac and his companions entered. The day of the recording, Tupac had expressed fears about his personal security, despite the fact that he had promised to appear in one of Little Sean's songs. The building feeling satisfied and confident. But as he approached the elevator, he noticed a group of men that he believed to be associated with Biggie. Things quickly became more serious when Tupac realized that these men did not appear to be Biggie's security guards. During the interview, he remembered saying, "Even Biggie's homeboy loves me. Why don't they look up?" I went back and punched the elevator button, and that's when the guys with the 2 identical 9mm weapons appeared. Nobody moved, and nobody moved on the floor. You are aware of the time, and I was wondering what to do in light of the sudden assault. Tupac was shot 5 times, which resulted in serious injuries while the assailants ran from the scene. One of the bullets that slightly damaged his head. Following
Of his recording session at Quad Studios, he allegedly gave the infamous Biggie the finger when he was being carried away on a stretcher after the incident. A disturbing video that was recently unearthed shows Tupac Shakur criticizing Sean Diddy's alleged involvement in the attack, which happened 2 years before he was killed. The video was released in response to the news that Diddy had been arrested, and since then, many people have been considering the relationships that the well-connected celebrity had with other people.
his arrival at the studio, Tupac and his entourage quickly ascended to the upper floor via the elevator. Tupac P said, "I'm limping and everything, but I don't feel anything. It's numb." When we arrived upstairs, I glanced around and was terrified. He also said that Puffy was crept forward, taking a step back. I realized that Puffy was aware of the extent of my support for Biggie prior to his public release following the shooting. He denied knowing anything at all about the 2008 shooting. The statement he made claimed that neither he nor I, the late rapper Biggie, were aware of any attacks prior to, during, or following the incident. This was stated in another interview with a hip-hop publication. Diddy disputes the idea that and maintains his innocence. If you ask him, he knows where they're at, he knows who shot him, and everyone on the street knows as well. He's not going to step towards them because he knows he won't get away with it. Instead, he's angry at everyone. Don't use him as a scapegoat. We know he's a decent guy from New York. And aside from that, Tupac is a nice, kind guy. Suge Knight also gave a speech in an interview with Drink Champs on Revolt TV. He made derogatory remarks about Diddy and his record label Bad Boy Records, but he did not specifically mention the mogul. Instead, he said, "Any artist out there that wants to be an artist and stay a star and doesn't have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record dancing, comes to death row." Diddy then recalled that he had confronted the mogul, but that he was able to defuse the situation by refraining from taking revenge. Asked him if Suge's speech was about Diddy, and he replied, "No, I was talking about Jermaine Dupri." In 1995, Knight offered $1.4 million to cover Tupac's bail, and the rapper accepted. He then released the album All Eyes on Me, which was the most successful album Death Row had ever released. However, after being found guilty of sexual abuse, Knight visited Tupac at Rikers Island, New York, to reassure him that everything would be all right. Nobody Is Available on Bad Boy Records was responsible for Tupac's attack, believing that the infamous Biggies who shot ya had treated him disrespectfully. After some time had passed,
In the interview conducted 2 years prior to his death, Tupac stated that he had found Biggie Smalls, Diddy, and other people. He said that when they did not reply and seemed surprised, he wondered if they knew about the attack beforehand. "No one approached me. I noticed that nobody would look at me," he said. Andre Harrell refused to give me a glance. The last several days, I had been having dinner with him. He had asked me to the set of New York Undercover and promised to find me a job.
Biggie released the song Long Kiss Goodnight, which was widely believed to have been a diss track that took a direct shot at Bad Boy Entertainment. This song is regarded as one of the best diss tracks in the history of recorded music. Imitations of Biggie, Diddy, and Lil' Kim were included in the song video as satirical elements composed by Tupac. However, Diddy refuted the rumors that if Biggie was going to do a song about Tupac, he would have just come out with it and said his name was Death of Tupac. Tupac was shot on September 7, 1997, when he was traveling in a black BMW with Marion Esch Knight, who was the head of Death Row Records at the time. The doctors tried everything to save his life, but they were unable to stop the bleeding. And at 4:03 p.m., he was pronounced dead. In an attempt to request a truce in the continuing rap feud, Diddy and Snoop Dogg appeared on The Steve Harvey Show later in 1997. On the other hand, that same year saw another tragic event. A drive-by shooting in Los Angeles 6 months after Tupac's murder, in which the infamous Biggie was shot and killed after a vibe after-party. The shooting was a result of rivalry between East Coast and West Coast kids, and Snoop claimed that by calling for a truce, we're giving them something to live for. A Chevrolet Impala SS drew up next to Christopher Wallace's Suburban, and Wallace heard 4 bullets. The Impala's black male driver rolled down his window, took out a 9mm blue steel handgun, and pointed it at the Suburban. In a November 30, 1994, article published in the Los Angeles Times, Tupac claimed that associates of music entrepreneur Diddy Combs had orchestrated an incident in which Tupac was injured at the Quad recording facilities in New York. The narrative said that the newly Hamdak. The data supported Tupac's assertions. However, the Los Angeles Times decided to retract the report after it was published. Checkers came to the conclusion that the FBI reports were falsified. But guess what? There are now more speculations circulating concerning the year 2023. Dwayne Keith D. Davis was brought into detention on suspicion of participation in the killing of Tupac. Does Diddy have a role in this?
The 2 individuals were reportedly waiting at a red light close to the Las Vegas Strip when a white Cadillac came up right next to them and shooting broke out. This information was provided by the police. Shag and Tupac were transported by police and paramedic personnel to the University Medical Southern Nevada. Sadly, Tupac died from respiratory insufficiency, which finally resulted in cardiac death after his right lung was removed.
The prosecution claimed that Davis had publicly stated that he had only spoken about himself and wasn't attempting to gather evidence against anyone else during his conversations with police. This remark contradicts the assertion since he suggests that Sean paid Eric Von Martin $1 million for the murders and promised to arrange a covert phone conversation with the driver, Terrence Brown, who was still alive at the time. And Eminem's response as well. While playing Gasoline, Eminem recently said that Diddy was to blame for Tupac's death. Darkened version. Eminem alludes subtly to the information that Diddy was complicit in the infamous killings of Biggie and Tupac. The domino was Biggie's demise. Consequences of Tupac's death, such as facial tissue, whose card should I clean next? Puffs raps until he's in police handcuffs? Guilty. Will he come forward like G never turned himself in? Who knows how many murders there will have been? Or me confused? Prepare for me to say anything without thinking it through. And he also fired a shot at MGK, who was signed to Bad Boy Records. Kells, the unsolved mystery surrounding the death of infamous The Forwards, B, continues to captivate the public even as Diddy waits for his trial, which could result in him serving several more years in prison if the federal allegations that have been brought against him are found to be true. The day you put out a hit is the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out that got Pac killed, rapped M on the track. This is a subtle McMahon.
Davis was questioned in one of the police recordings, and in answer, he said, "Yes, I believe he did." Michael Dorsey, the head of the documentary Murder Rap about the killings of Biggie and Tupac, revealed the discovery of further audio on the tape that had not before been made public. In court documents that Fox 5 was able to access, Keith claimed that he was having trouble getting paid $1 million by the founder of Bad Boy for carrying out the
evidence for why he believes Diddy is the reason for Biggie's demise. But first, we must comprehend Diddy's contentious connection with his fellow rappers. In the years preceding Tupac Shakur's and Biggie's deaths, Diddy was envious of both of them. Diddy Combs was envious of the close relationship that formed between the two musicians. Many of Diddy's old associates and co-workers were interviewed by a Rolling Stone piece, which led to the release of new details surrounding the claimed abusive behavior of the Bad Boy Records founder throughout his career. In one of the stories, former Bad Boy partner and president Kirk Burroughs claimed that Diddy thought he was being treated unfairly when Tupac and Biggie became friends, saying that there was someone on the sidelines who was jealous. Burroughs made reference to Diddy, saying that Biggie was signed to Bad Boy Records, which he owned, while Tupac was signed to Death Row Records, which was a rival at the time. Had affection for Tupac and tried to get close to him. The West Coast rapper showed no interest in forming a friendship with him. According to pop photographer Monique Bunn, in an interview, Pac thought Biggie was at least as good as Diddy and that Diddy was a corny executive. Bunn further stated that everything was exaggerated after Tupac was shot 5 times in a New York City recording studio in 1994. The rapper believed that